14. Well, if you have coffee suggestions, please put them in the chat.
I think she's going to throw them in here. Well, hey, we're going to get started with it. I'm going to get you guys a little bit about Erica and Meg. I want to tell you guys a little bit about that so you know who's on the other side of your screen. Erica, born from Camden, New Jersey, studied early childhood at UMES. Come on, she's a worship leader at our church. She does amazing things for our church, and she also loves sushi, so I have to have her on. And then Meg, she's from, I think it's Bowie, Maryland, right?
Bowie? You got it.
Yeah, so she's in Bowie, Maryland, just received her master's in counseling. Come on, if anything, we need some counseling to get in this season.
That's right.
I know Erica's a transition coordinator too, so I need to transition into this new season. But hey, Meg knows how to pray a house down, and she is one of the most social people I've ever met. So I want to tell you guys, I didn't pick these two just because they have good things to say. I believe they do. But I also believe they have a great life that they live besides what they say, right? They back it up. So if anybody, these are people you want to continue to follow up with, you want to continue to be in relationship with because of the life they live. So with that, I'm going to take a little bit of their time to ask them some of the stuff they do in their regular life because I believe it's worth knowing. And I believe you guys can take some gems out of this conversation on just how to be during this time and during this season. So Meg, Erica, thank you so much for joining. We appreciate having you on here. It's an honor.
Oh, this is Chloe, everybody.
And Chloe, special guest.
She refuses to move. Yeah. Sorry.
Chloe said she wants the spotlight too.
Yeah.
Hey, I get it. Well, hey, I want to kick it off to our first question. It's real simple. It's just, what are you doing to pass the time during the quarantine? Everybody's locked up, and it's getting to those couple weeks where you're like, this is legit. Like, it's not changing right now. So what have you been doing to pass time?
Well, so I have been blessed to be able to work at home. I work for a company that works with kids, and we work with kids and their families. Mm-hmm. So we're able to do all that from home. So like how we're doing now, like by Skype or Zoom or stuff like that. So we can talk with the kids and talk with the families online. A lot of counseling. If they need stuff, we can help them find food. Clothes, stuff like that. So really just helping kids and families get whatever they need. So that's pretty much what I've been doing. I have been eating a lot of snacks, like a lot of snacks.
Right.
Like candy, chips, popcorn, cookies, ice cream, pizza bites,
manna from heaven.
Like it has been
ice cream, pizza,
snacks, like Cheetos, cheese balls. We don't even need cheese balls. Right. We've eaten half a bag of cheese balls already.
That's Acme's fault because they sent it to us. We didn't order cheese balls.
They sent us cheese balls and we ate them still.
Right. I mean, you're not gonna let them go to waste.
What'd you say?
I said you're not gonna let them go to waste.
No, can't do that.
No. So I've been doing a lot of eating. It's terrible, but it's okay. It's been fun. So, and then, really, I've been doing a lot of praying and just talking to God a lot about all the stuff that's going on with people and just asking Him to help people a lot. Yeah. So, those are the things I've been doing.
Yeah, same here. I've been doing a lot of, so I also work from home, but for me, it's really difficult so I supervise a team, and it's really difficult to work from home, like fully. So a lot of the things, some of the things I need to do, I have to go into the office for. So I've been back and forth, which has been great because it gives me a minute to get some fresh air. And I had to take the trash to the dumpster the other day, and I rolled all the windows down. 3 minutes to the dumpster, rolled all the windows down, and came back blasting music for 6 whole minutes.
Yeah.
So you just need a minute to get out. So yep, I'm working from home. Been in and out, in the office, and also same thing. A lot has been going on, so I've had the opportunity to do a lot of praying and reading, and also a lot of binging on some TV shows.
Oh, yeah. So. I know everybody relates. We got comments all in here saying yes to the food.
Really?
Some specific food, some ice cream, some candy.
agree.
And Pastor JT, I journal as well.
Uh-huh.
I learned a long time ago that, like, if I write down my feelings, that it helps a lot, especially to get them out. So I don't know if any of you guys out there journal, but it's really been helpful to me during this quarantine.
Come on, right off the bat, we're giving some good advice. That actually helps out with this next question. So, being a quarantine, I thought this question would be a great fit because we have plenty of time on our hands, obviously, right? I mean, you can sit around and do whatever you want with a day, whether it's binge, eat, work, whatever, pray, read. And so I believe this is a perfect time for middle school and high school to develop habits, right? Like, I think this would be a great time for them. There's not much to do. And there's plenty of time to find. So what if you guys could rewind, right? If you could take yourself back into that middle school, high school shoe, what would you say is a habit you wish you started sooner? Maybe like you said, Meg, journaling, but is there anything else for the viewers? Like, what's the habit they should start doing in this time?
So I hope this is effective for this age group. Because honestly, I wish that I would have learned sooner better self-care habits. So how to take care of Erica first. I think, everybody knows that, I love taking care of other people. I love being there for other people. I'm always doing something. I love it. But one of the things I recognize that I lacked was learn how to take care of me first. And so, I think for this age group, some self-care habits could be, taking a minute to spend to yourself instead of, being with friends all the time. And also journaling, that's a good one. And having a moment to just sit and maybe read a book or listen to some music. And also, clearly, spending some time in the Word, developing those habits now so that when you get older, those self-care habits are easier to reach out to, I wish I would have. I'm sure there is a whole lot of other things, but that's definitely number one that I wish I would have grasped sooner. I'm just now, like in my older years, learning those self-care habits.
Yeah. Man, I think that's a good.
Just in case people didn't know that. She is old. I can say it.
She old too. She like 6 months younger than me.
So I'm 6. So she's 6 months older. Sorry, what were you saying?
I'm done.
I think that's such a good word for right now, because here's the thing. I understand Corona is not something that God said, hey, I want to put this out on people, but I do believe that God's like, hey, I can use this, So to develop, I think this is a perfect time, like you said, for self-health, because we got all the time with ourselves now. Because I think, like you said, if you don't connect yourself to some kind of source, you're gonna drain your battery real quick.
That's true.
And I think people like you two especially know this, because you are in your minds, and it's gonna be later on. I'm gonna ask this, but I think you guys are ministry oriented, like you're naturally helpers. So having that self-help, I think, is huge, even for myself, finding out what rhythms work. When do I read best? If it's in the morning or at night, right? I mean, just figuring out where that recharge is, because otherwise, when we get back into the regular schedule, it's going to end up the same. We're all going to be tired. We're all going to be running around.
I agree.
So,
being naturally ministry-minded, I hope this is helpful to somebody, but being naturally ministry minded, like you were saying, it's so important to be able to understand that it's okay to take a step back or to say no or, to not do something because you just want to do everything, especially if it's your giftings or you just want to be a part. We have people who are so influential in our church and they want to be a part and do all kinds of stuff. And I love all of that. Sometimes it's necessary to grab hold of those self-care habits and sit down.
Yeah. And the Bible even says it, right? It says, teach me to number my days so that I may gain a heart of wisdom. And it's almost like, man, it's so easy to just blur your days together. It's like, I don't remember what I had for dinner last night. I don't remember this. But to intentionally, like you said, number your days and be like, hey, I want to plan out my day. Like, here, Bible reading, I'm going to pray.
Right.
I'm going to binge Netflix. However you want to plan
That's
it,
right?
But get some healthy habits in there. I think that's
Do
a
one thing
great
that
thing.
makes you happy every day. That's right.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that.
I love that.
Say that again.
I would say, to piggyback off Miss Erica, to do one thing that makes you happy every day.
I love that. Yeah.
So spend time with God every day and do something that makes you happy every day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would say. For me, I would say, if when I was in high school or middle school, one habit that I wish I would have done was loved myself a whole lot. Like getting in the habit of remembering that I was good enough, that I was great. Like looking at Meg and seeing all the wonderful things about myself and telling myself that all the time. Because that way I wouldn't have spent so much time trying to get everybody else to see it. Like, you know, like if I knew that I was awesome, because I was awesome.
Right.
I just didn't know how awesome I am.
Still are.
My best friend, guys. Did I tell you this is my best friend? So I didn't realize how awesome I was in middle school and high school. Yeah, but you're the best. Anyway, sorry. Okay. sorry. But I didn't realize how awesome I was in middle school and in high school because I listened to what everybody else said, or I thought because I didn't look this way, or I didn't talk this way, or I didn't dress this way, or whatever. I always felt like I wasn't as awesome as other people were. But if I had to do it over, I would get in the habit of telling myself every single day how awesome God thinks I am and how awesome I am.
Yeah.
That way I didn't have to spend my life trying to impress people to get people to think that I'm awesome.
Gosh,
I was already awesome.
That's so good. Because I think that leads to even being careful with what decisions you make. Because when you're in a place of, I'm good enough, you don't make, you know, it's that whole idea when you're full, you don't eat, right? But if you're hungry, you'll eat anything, whatever people throw at you, you know? So,
that's true.
So if you're full of yourself and what God said, and like you said, being, I'm awesome, then all of a sudden when somebody offers you something like, hey, why don't you do this with me? It's like, nah, you know what? I'm good enough.
I'm good.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think that's another huge piece of advice. Yeah.
That's right.
That's so good. Hey, so I got a question. I love this question. So you guys do not have, I mean, you guys are volunteering at churches. You're being the hands and feet of Jesus. But I love that you do it even outside of a ministry position, right? Because I know a lot of people love the idea of working at church. And I'm not saying they can't. And I believe you should if that's what God's called you to. But what I really like about you guys, I'm going to steal this from Pastor Michael Todd because that's his church, right? He says we want to represent Christ. And another way, we want to represent who Jesus is.
Yeah,
so
I like that.
My question is for y'all is how do you represent Jesus when you're outside of the church, right? Like you don't have to have a church job to represent Jesus. And I think you guys do that extremely well. So what does that look like for you to do that in your workplaces and different things?
Let's see. So do you guys, so you know, I'm not great with like space and all this other stuff. I only know a little bit about it. But one thing I know about the moon is that the moon is just
space,
like outer space.
Outer space? What are you talking about?
No, and we're not 6 feet apart, but you know,
we've been in this house together for 4 weeks. So.
Whatever.
Yeah, you've been in the house. If you're gonna get it, you're gonna get it.
Sorry, guys. Anyway, the space, the universe space. So the moon, you know how the moon is, it's a rock. And at night, the moon lights up. But the moon only lights up because it's a reflection of the sun, right? You guys know the light that comes from the moon.
Come on, teacher.
I know, right? It's what comes from the sun. So the moon itself can't reflect light because it doesn't have light inside of it. Only the sun gives the moon light. So I feel like we are all kind of like the moon, like I'm the moon. So the sun's light reflects through me. So I understand that. So I know that. So every time that I'm outside of my house, I understand that I am the reflection of Jesus because that's who I am. Because he saved me, because I believed in him. So now I'm his child. Yeah. I'm his kid. I'm his daughter. He loves me. So now everywhere I go, no matter what I do, I reflect the light of the sun. So I know that up here. So that comes through my actions. So because I understand what God likes, I act the way God likes. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just kind of a part of who I am. And so because I know that God has loved me, I show love wherever I go. I know God has helped me a million times, so I help wherever I can help. Yeah. God has given me amazing friends, so I become an amazing friend to other people. God listens to me when I pray and talk, so I listen to other people when they pray and talk. So I think that that's kind of helped me, just understanding that his light reflects through me and getting to know him, like hanging out with God and talking to him and, letting him talk back to me, figuring out what he likes, and then just going out there and just being it and just doing it.
Yeah,
I hope
absolutely.
that answered me.
Yeah,
Aubrey said, Meg, you better preach.
Yeah, that was good. I don't even need to respond. That was great. Yeah, I mean, same thing. I think, so for me, definitely, because I work in a very secular world. Like my job is very secular. Now, there are and secular means like worldly, not a lot of Christians.
Yeah.
And so there are very few of us. My executive director is not Christian, and so I am super intentional. I'm very intentional with everything I do, and again, like what Meg was saying, because I have a relationship with Christ, I just want to be like Him anyway.
Yeah.
So everything I do is because I want to be like Christ. So I want to be like Him, in my actions, the way I talk, the way, everything I do. So when I'm at work or out in the world or wherever I am, I want to be like Christ. So it comes out like that.
That's right.
People see that. Now, I can't tell you that I'm perfect, but again, I'm super
intentional. But she's very close to it.
Oh, you're so great.
Man.
That's our best friend, y'all.
I need to have a second person with me just so I can hear from them.
So I think it's to the point where, and you don't even know that people are watching you. And again, like, I don't do stuff so that people can be like, Erica's a Christian. Oop, Erica's a Christian. I just try and live like Christ. I just try and be like Christ. Like Meg was saying, I want to love like Christ. I want to serve like Christ. I raise my hand and be the first one to volunteer for something because I want to be like Christ. And so just because that's who I am, it's already in me. People see that, and a lot of times it's the only Christ that some people see. And so, I've heard, like, people will say to me, somebody might slip up and cuss and say, oops, Erica, I'm sorry. You don't even realize that people are watching your life, but they know that you don't cuss.
That's right.
So, it's just, that's the best way I can say it, is because I know that I want to be like Christ. I want to be like Christ. And so all of my actions, everything I do, all the reading and the worshiping and all of that comes out in my everyday life.
That's right.
Yeah.
And Pastor T, and I agree. One thing I want to say, two things really quickly, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Miss Erica works with children or adults that have developmental delays. And so she is very big into justice and being fair and, people receiving equality, because people like that who may have delays, they can get treated really poorly.
Absolutely.
And so, know how Christ came and defended us. Christ came and stood up for us. Miss Erica does a lot on her job. She stands up for people who can't stand up for themselves. So she's really big on that. And the other thing the other thing I wanted to say is, I believe that God will give us the grace to say no.
Yes, that's so good.
Grace means it's like God-given energy, God-given strength. Like God's muscles come inside of mine and give me the strength to do it. That's like that God-given grace. And I always ask Him for His grace to say no to things that I know He wouldn't prefer that I do. And so, but God is so good that if I say no to something that I know is not, of God, God will give me a lovely alternative, because He wants us to have life abundantly, meaning really big and full of joy. So He's not just going to leave us bored in a corner just because we're His children. He gives us wonderful other things that we can do. So saying no to stuff, I'm not really missing out, because God gives us all these other wonderful things that we can do and enjoy and have fun. So knowing the difference between, the things that God may not want me to do, but opening my eyes to all these other wonderful things that God has for me and doing those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and stay.
Man, that's so good. You guys are wonderful. Gosh, I love that because I think a lot of people focus in on that one thing he doesn't want you to have. And like you said, there's so many other options if you would just turn around and look. But half the time you're so fed. Why can't I get that?
I know,
Why
I
can't I
can't do
have
this.
that? Right. And then he's got, like you said, he's got the muscles for you too. Even if you are trying and you're like, I want it real bad, it's like, don't worry, I got you. I've lifted a whole lot more than you have.
That's
And in a lot of cases, you will see later why he didn't want you to have it.
That's true.
Yep.
A lot of situations, you think my friends is doing this and they get to do this, they get to do that. But later you see, I'm so glad my mom taught me to do this, or I'm so glad I listened to that, because you look at other people's lives and you see why you were kept from certain things.
That's true.
That's so good. Hey, you might have already answered it because you guys have just thrown out all kinds of wisdom. This has been good for me. This has been good for me. So I want to ask you guys this last question, and it's just this simple one. It's, what is one thing, and I think it's huge because I think people don't think about it. I think if we were to take time and ask God, hey, what are you trying to show me during this time? A lot of people would start to see more of God in their life than they do right now. Right? But I believe you guys take time. Like you said, you pray, you journal, you read. So I want to ask this. What is one thing God has been showing you during this quarantine? And I know you guys have been sharing it all.
Sure.
This video.
I think, excuse me, that God has been showing me that he is in control. And you guys, do you know that story? I go back to this all the time because I'm trying to learn how to do it. When there was that huge storm and Jesus and the disciples were on the boat and everybody was flipping out because it was all this, like the wind we heard today. It was like all this wind and all these waves and all this stuff happening on the ocean. And the disciples were terrified. And to be honest, I would probably have been one of those disciples that was like, oh my gosh. Like I would have been like, where is Jesus? Why are you sleeping? Right. That's what I would have been like on that boat. Like, I'm dizzy. Like I would have been like that.
Right.
And so whole time Jesus was downstairs, in the inside of the boat asleep. I would have been like, he is asleep. Like, are you kidding me? It's a whole storm and Jesus is downstairs asleep.
Right.
Right. So, but I heard a pastor say, I heard him say this once and it stood out to me and it has ministered to me. And he said, when your faith is awake, you can go to sleep. When your faith is awake, you can go to sleep. So Jesus, who is the Son of God, already knew that the storm was going to pass because storms don't last always. And he also knew that they were going to make it to the other side because he said so. It was the disciples that were tripping. And so I'm trying to, during this time, to wake my faith up by praying and remembering that Jesus is in control so that I can go to sleep, so that my fear can go to sleep, so that my emotions can go to sleep, so that the sadness about the stuff that's happening can go to sleep. I'm trying to keep my faith awake so I can go to sleep. So I think that's what God is teaching me how to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I would say.
I fully agree in the same vein. So, again, we've been doing a lot of praying, a lot of seeking the Lord and spending extra time with him because we have it. But also doing a lot of extra praying because a lot of extra stuff is happening. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So, the thing that the Lord keeps reminding me is to just trust him.
Yeah.
To just trust him. And so, the other day I was praying about some things and I clearly, the Lord was very clear about reminding me that he was here.
Yeah.
And so I think if we remember in not just this difficult time, but in difficult times, I think if we remember that God is here, that he's not left us. The Bible said that he'll never leave us nor forsake us. He's not left us. He's not gone.
Right.
All of this craziness, just like the people on the boat. Jesus, where you at? He's downstairs asleep.
Right.
We think he's asleep, but he's not. He's really not. And in all of my prayer time, I was praying for a friend. I'm getting emotional. I was praying for a friend. And the Lord was simply reminding me, Erica, I'm still here. I'm here.
Yeah.
I haven't left you.
I was like, and it's me.
No, it wasn't.
Oh. Well, whatever.
But the Lord was reminding me, he said, Erica, I'm very much in control of this situation. I have not left.
Yeah.
I've not left her. I've not left you. I've not left the situation. I'm very much in control. So he's been reminding me that he's very much here, very much present.
Yeah. Wow, that is huge, especially like you said, just to tie it all up. It's not just for this season, right? Like the whole conversation, you guys are women of faith that aren't just because this season you get to show it off. I think you're here because you've proved yourself like that you love the Lord, you love Jesus, and that's why I wanted you on the show, not because you're great in seasons, but in every season it seems like you all have consistency. And I know you're not perfect, but I know you guys are the people that are shooting for the mark every time, and if you miss it, God's got the grace to get you back up. And I love what you guys are saying. I think we need to just keep that focus of, hey, I know this season definitely press in, establish those habits, but make sure they don't leave or just stay for just this season, right? Like we want him to continue to be with us in every storm that follows. Man, so I'm thankful for y'all. Y'all brought a word. You all brought it down. I mean, I knew it was happening, but I didn't know it was going to happen like that.
Yeah. Middle school and high school. Sorry if it was too deep.
No, it wasn't too deep. I think when you give the truth of the gospel, it doesn't matter who you are, they're going to be attracted to it. Right? And you gave it real practical, so I think it was amazing. I got people saying bring them back next week, so
hey.
Y'all did it. Y'all did it.
So great. Love you guys.
Well, hey, that is it. I want to just thank you guys again for tuning in. Those who were watching today, you have got to rewatch this if you didn't, or share it with a friend, because what they said is something that will last in this season and outside of this season, right? So we thank you guys so much for joining. We're so appreciative that they would join. And hey, I hope you all have a great day. Absolutely. Absolutely. Man, we'll see you all. This is the Youth Video Podcast. We'll see you guys next Monday.
All right, guys.